Just ahead on American Sunrise, the debatable debate without President Trump on the stage. Is tonight's event just a whimper in Wisconsin? We have the latest.
And tomorrow, all eyes will be on Atlanta as President Trump is scheduled to turn himself into District Attorney Fani Willis. But there's a push in the Peach State to impeach Willis.
Joe Biden may have dozed off in Hawaii as residents mourn victims of the fire that ravaged Maui. But why are some woke Hawaiians raising money for Ukraine instead of their own?
And she's a lightning bolt, and she's back. Carrie Lake is here with more insight about the things that make America great and what she intends to fix.
And Ron DeSantis' dreams for the White House seem to be deflating before our very eyes. And before tonight's debate, in moments, a look at a campaign in crisis. Those stories and more as American Sunrise starts right now.
We've got your back as you start your day.
Articulating what the majority of Americans feel today, and I really appreciate that you do.
Y'all tell the truth.
You guys are our voice.
We watch every morning while getting ready for work.
Ready?
All right, everyone. There's David in D.C. I'm Terrance Bates here. We apologize for the technical problems off the top. Terrance Bates here in our Denver studios. We appreciate you being here with us for American Sunrise. Let's see if we can't bring in David Brody right now, who is in our Washington, D.C. studios, getting ready for the big day. A lot to talk about today. A lot of heavy news day as well. Of course, preparations are underway for President Trump there to turn himself in tomorrow in Atlanta, Georgia. In the meantime, tonight, obviously, is the big Republican presidential debate, the primary debate. That's going to be happening tonight. In fact, the Republican presidential primary debate likely won't even be the biggest television event of the week. Rather, President Trump's court appearance as soon as tomorrow on racketeering charges will probably be what the entire world tunes in for. Tuesday, a Fulton County judge approved an order allowing cameras in the courtroom for President Trump's arraignment, which of course could happen anytime between tomorrow and September 8th. President Trump is already confirming that he plans to turn himself into authorities tomorrow evening for booking and for processing. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is also insisting on a $200,000 bond. Trump attorney and Georgia co-defendant John Eastman is speaking out this morning after surrendering to authorities in Fulton County on Tuesday. Not only does Eastman believe the charges against him should never have been brought, but he also is sticking to his guns on the central issue in this case against him and all of the 19 people who are charged.
Do you still think the election was stolen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Still.
No question. No question in my mind.
Eastman was booked at the Fulton County Jail and is expected to have an arraignment in the coming weeks. Like the other defendants, he is charged under Georgia's RICO, or racketeering law, for allegedly trying to overturn the state's 2020 election results. And in other headlines, 8 GOP presidential candidates will duke it out on the debate stage in Milwaukee tonight. While the main attraction, President Trump, won't be there, the sideshow will include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, Trump UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, as well as businessman Vivek Ramaswamy and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum will be on the stage tonight. In the meantime, President Trump is boasting about the massive lead that he's continuing to build over the entire field. Posting on Truth Social, he is highlighting polls that have him with at least a 40-point lead over second-place contender Ron DeSantis. It is the biggest lead of the campaign. Well, that's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's bring in David Brody in our Washington, D.C. studios. David, started off a little rocky, but it is good to see your shining face, my friend. And it is really not a rumble in the jungle. In fact, tonight's debate with the Republican presidential wannabes should probably be called the whimper in Wisconsin, right? A lot happening tonight, and I'm not so sure a lot of people are really anticipating it.
Yeah, everybody's got their moniker for tonight, the whimper in Wisconsin. I like to just call it the debate for second place, because that's pretty much what we're talking about here. There's so much to unpack on this debate. And let's be honest, how many people are really going to watch it? 24 million people watched, Terrance, that first debate, 2016, back when Donald Trump first took the stage and kind of dressed down Fox News and Megyn Kelly and had the Rosie O'Donnell comment and all that. 24 million. That was the most watched debate ever for a live event in television history as it relates to politics and political debate. So, there's a lot of interesting numbers that we'll dissect tomorrow morning to see how these numbers play compared to 2016. And of course, we want to bring in Dr. Gina and Miranda down in West Palm to the conversation as we get going here on American Sunrise. Ladies, I mean, it is really, if you think about it, the debate tonight for second place, because everybody else is just a wannabe when it comes to Donald Trump.
Yeah, no kidding. But that second place for a long time has been Governor Ron DeSantis, and man, does he continue to descend. We're going to share some shocking poll numbers because he needs help. Talk about a campaign in crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny to me, kind of amusing to me as I'm watching punditry across all of the corporate media this morning, just kind of clicking, and I'm hearing them describe, one of them as a happy warrior, one of them, Vivek, I think, as a revolutionary, Nikki Haley is somebody who likes to get down and scrappy. I'm thinking, here we have the dwarves that we're missing from the new woke version of Snow White. So
the 8 dwarves?
Played.
That's hilarious, Dr. Gina. That's hilarious.
Yeah, speaking of the 8 dwarves, 8 of the GOP candidates are gathering, as we mentioned, right now in Wisconsin, while 4 of the candidates that didn't qualify are attacking the RNC and making plans for the next steps when it comes to their campaign. So the question is, really, why? Are they really even relevant anymore? And for those of you at home, love to know your thoughts about what are your plans? Are you going to watch Trump and Tucker Carlson tonight? Are you going to watch the debate? Do you have any interest? Would love to know your thoughts. But President Trump, as you mentioned, Terrance, leading bigly, leading the pack by 40 points or more, according to most polls. So this is just,
an exercise in futility,
we haven't
maybe?
seen anything like this. This is, this is unprecedented. David, I mean, I know that you are a wealth of information, but I've never seen poll numbers like this before. Real quickly, your reaction.
Yeah, no, of course. The poll numbers speak for themselves. And, everybody makes this whole idea that Donald Trump is not the best general election candidate. The polls suggest otherwise. The polls suggest that actually Trump and Biden, not only neck and neck, but Trump actually beating Biden in a few polls. So, there's just a lot. There's this idea that Trump can't beat Biden in a general election. Come on. I mean, look at some of the numbers. Right. It's just not true.
Well, and in fact, if you put DeSantis and Biden, it's Biden that's going to win, according to the polls. But let's find out what our next guest thinks. Guys, we'll get back to you in just a moment. But joining us now with Inside is Turning Point USA contributor and former Olympian Anthony Watson. Good to see you again, Anthony.
It is good to be here. Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good morning so far.
We are. I know it's dark and early where you are, but we got to ask you. We're asking our viewers right now. So will you be watching the debate, or is it Trump on Tucker?
Of course, it's obviously going to be Trump on Tucker. But, if anyone has a vested interest in this country, I feel like they should at least try to tune in to see what the nonsense is going to be spilling out of the RNC debate tonight, which is honestly not really something that we should all be surprised about, because you have a lot of people that have all literally taking Trumpisms and putting them all over the place to now try and make a name for themselves as they move closer to the presidential election that's coming up in November.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that this is not going to be the attraction that I think that maybe many had hoped. And I've watched as the hostile corporate media is painting this whole thing as just an illustration of the divide within the GOP. I personally, watching this whole thing, to me, I've never seen the GOP so united. Usually at this point in a primary, things are still up in the air. We don't really know. The numbers are more evenly divided. Looks to me like the GOP is pretty well decided on who they want their candidate to be. And the rest of it is like a lot of chatter in the background. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's obvious that this is a race for second place because all true Americans that want to see a change in the American ecosystem and the justice system and in every other place that we have right now are hoping for the president who literally had his election taken from him last term. So here at Turning Point USA, we're running the Vote and Live campaign. So we're expressing the importance of young Americans and Americans everywhere to stop letting people take your vote away by not voting. And this is very important to let your voice be heard, because it's always funny that the people who didn't vote, refuse to vote, don't like politics, get involved in politics are the ones that now are literally complaining the loudest. And I'm just like, well, now it's time for everyone to put your vote where your mouth is and see what happens next.
Anthony, it's going to be interesting tonight to see what questions are asked of these other candidates. And the one I want them to ask, I want Fox News to ask, I want a raise of hands. And they do this. I mean, they do the raise of hands thing on the debate stage. A raise of hands of who's going to pardon Donald Trump. If you become president of the United States, are you going to pardon Donald Trump? And I want to see Mike Pence's hand go up. I want to see Nikki Haley's hand. You know those hands aren't going up. So I'm saying it rhetorically. But I'm curious to see what kind of moments we're going to have. Also, will Mike Pence get booed tonight on the debate stage? I'm also waiting to see that as well.
I have no doubt that there's going to be a mix of emotions because you have a country here that's literally been polarized, split for supporting somebody who, in all honesty, wasn't doing anything wrong outside of the Constitution. What had happened was we had a president for the first time in the history of our country in a long time that actually put the power of government back into the hands where it belonged the most, where it was taken out of, and that was in the hands of the people. And the people feel like they're owed an explanation. So tonight we'll actually see who's honest, because the game of politics is the game of where you try to say the right things to please everybody without being direct. And the reason why Donald Trump is winning so highly in the polls right now is because he's been speaking the language of all the people that have been overlooked, forgotten about, and overshadowed through the political correctness and everything else. So tonight it's going to be interesting, most definitely, to see how people turn around and see all of that, because you have a nation behind one guy who actually took a stand for the small guy. And now we're going to see if the people are actually serious about that or if it's all talking bullet points that they used to get to this point that they are now.
Good point.
Anthony, real quick, because we got to go to commercial, but who is going to take second place tonight?
Oh man, I know it's not going to be Mike DeSantis. It'd probably be Vivek Ramaswamy. I'll give you a direct answer.
Okay. All right. Anthony Watson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Ahead on America's Sunrise, Fulton County DA Fani Willis wants to lock President Trump up, but one Georgia representative says she's the one who needs to be removed from office. He's here with the details. Stand by.
to American Sunrise. I'm Miranda Khan along with Dr. Gina Loudon, David Brody joining us in D.C. and Terrance joining us in Denver, Colorado. So as the sun starts coming up on Maui this morning, most Hawaiians are grieving over the tragedy of the historic wildfires that have just ravaged that area, but not all of them. Guys, take a look at this headline, and for those of you at home, if you're grabbing some coffee, take a look at your screen. Hawaii announces plans for Ukraine Independence Day to raise money for Ukrainians. This while they're still digging up, again, charred bodies of children in Maui. That's a harsh way of saying it, but that is a reality. What? Yeah, according to reports, Hawaii is holding a Ukraine Independence Day. This is supposed to take place August 26th at Magic Island to raise money and awareness for the war in Ukraine. I just don't get it.
A fundraiser for Ukraine while they are still recovering the remains of victims in Maui is something that should perhaps be put on a pause. You almost makes you wonder if this is like old news that just didn't get stopped after the August 8th fires happened?
I don't know, because I mean, we were sitting there yesterday during the 4 o'clock show, guys, talking to your good friend who's in Hawaii, saying that they don't even, and we didn't even know this, that FEMA hasn't even gotten supplies to them. They haven't received that pathetic $700 that Biden promised them, nor do they have supplies. It's stores. It's the people there opening up their homes. There is actually no one there on the ground. This is what we're hearing to help any of these people. Why are they raising money for Ukraine?
It's a slap in the face.
I don't get it.
It's a slap in the face to Hawaiian neighbors. I mean, this is happening on Hawaii, which of course is a collection of islands, but it's a slap in the face to the people there in Maui, to those Hawaiian neighbors who are literally trying to rebuild everything. To put this into context, you see the fires, but what we're hearing is that entire neighborhoods were burned to a crisp, burned so much that some of the bodies that are under all of that rubble likely will never be able to be identified because they're burned. So these people have to rebuild everything, and if you're raising money for anything outside of that, those people in your state, it is a slap in the face and it's shameful.
Terrance, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. We always hear you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Actually, no, you can't. Not in this situation. You walk with the folks of Hawaii, with the folks of Maui, and you say, no, we're going to do this, especially right now. We're not going to walk and chew gum at the same time. It's too important for that community. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. Here's the other thing. Remember we talked about that $24 billion that Biden wants for Ukraine in the supplemental bill? Okay, well, guess what? The Biden administration has now added $12 billion for Hawaii in that bill, $12 billion for Hawaii. So let's think about this for a second. There's $24 billion, double for Ukraine, $12 billion for Hawaii, number one. Number two, the only way Hawaii is getting that $12 billion, it's not a standalone bill. It's inside the supplemental with Ukraine. So if Hawaii wants the money, Ukraine's going to get the money. It's a situation where they're both going to get it. And I think this Hawaii bill should stand on its own. $12 billion, send it to them, boom, make it a standalone. Why are you tying it to Ukraine money? So anyhow, there's that.
Right. Well, why are you tying it? Why is it less? And why isn't there people on the ground right now? Why can't we have a Navy ship right there, multiple ships, helping those people? We shouldn't have to wait for a bill to pass or add it or tie it to Ukraine. I just unconscionable
that this many days later, this fire was August 8th. Unconscionable that on this date there still is no FEMA on the ground. There are people there filling out paperwork, but there is nothing being done in terms of even cleanup. I mean, disease and things like that become a real problem at this stage of the game when you have dead bodies laying there. Undoubtedly more rain, because I think this time of year, if Hawaii is anything like here, we get a lot of rain this time of year. And all of those kinds of things can lead to lots of problems. It's very terrifying.
It's a crisis, and they need to handle it, and they're not. They're ignoring the people of Maui. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Really quickly. I just have to remind people, this is a U.S. state. I know Hawaii is off in the Pacific. It's off the coast, but this is still a United States state. It's one of the Union. It's one of the 50. It's a state.
Yeah. But
That's right.
They weren't even just being ignored by the mainland. They're being ignored by their own statesmen, which is mind-blowing. All right, coming up, the DeSantis campaign deflated ahead of tonight's debate. Some words of wisdom for the Florida governor coming up ahead.
But next, President Trump is expected to surrender to District Attorney Fani Willis tomorrow in Georgia. But is Willis herself about to be impeached? Meet the man sounding the charge as American Sunrise continues.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
And we are
David.
back. Yes, we're back. I don't know where I am. It's whatever time in the morning. I'm still sleeping, apparently. But we're back here in American Sunrise. Dr. Gina and Miranda with us. And, this debate coming up, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to watch it. Sure, why not? I mean, like I said, I'll be taking Tums, but I'll still watch it. Why not?
Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm probably going to be going back and forth. I'm going to be shifty eyes.
I'm always that way.
Not to compare myself to Adam Shifty Shift, but
it's always fascinating to me just to see what media decides to cover, what they decide to say. I'll be interested to see how the outliers, the CNN and the MSNBCs and all of them, what are they doing during this? It'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Any predictions? What do you think about Anthony saying that Vivek, and I'm not still sure if I'm saying his name right, but about him coming out as the victor for second place during this debate, do you think that's pretty spot on?
Yeah, I think it is. As a matter of fact, I've been saying for months, as I pat myself on the back, which my ego approves of, that I've been saying Vivek Ramaswamy all along is going to shine on the debate stage. Now, he's going to get fired tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. Hey, speaking of debates, there is no debate that Terrance Bates is, my gosh, the best and sharp-dressed man and wonderful guy, and he's actually talent. He is talent, and he's got the headlines from Denver, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Speaking of issues affecting senior citizens, while Social Security is a lifeline for many mature Americans, there's a significant and a real concern that lifeline will wash away over the next decade or so. For many, it could be their only source source of income, and that's why keeping it solvent going into retirement is a priority. But there's a new report out this morning from the Nationwide Retirement Institute that finds 45% of adults between 18 and 26 years old expect to get nothing from Social Security. That group believes they won't see a dime of the Social Security benefits they've earned and paid into over the course of their professional lives. President Trump is expected to turn himself into authorities in Fulton County, Georgia tomorrow evening. He is charged with racketeering and conspiracy as part of a 41-count indictment. All of this for alleged efforts to overturn Georgia's 2020 presidential election results. In the meantime, there's a new development in the classified documents case against the 45th president out of Florida. Yuscil Taveras, an IT director at Mar-a-Lago identified as Trump employee 4 in legal documents, has reportedly changed his testimony and his lawyer. Prosecutors say Taveras is now accusing Mr. Trump and 2 other aides of trying to delete security camera footage. The change in testimony appears to come after special counsel Jack Smith informed Taveras that he was being investigated for perjury. And bond is now set for more than half of the 18 co-defendants named in the Fulton County indictment against President Trump. The bonds range from $10,000 to $200,000. All 19 have until noon on Friday to turn themselves in. We're told some of the people who have been granted bond have already begun surrendering for processing in Fulton County Jail. Under the mob-like bond agreements, the suspects, quote, shall perform no act to intimidate any person known to him or her to be a co-defendant or witness in this case, or to otherwise obstruct the administration of justice. That's a quick check of your headlines brought to you by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. Now, let's get you back to Dr. Gina and Miranda. Miranda Pooh, or Randy Pooh as I like to call you. Good morning.
It's so endearing. You're so sweet, Terrance. Well, all eyes on Atlanta as President Trump gets ready to surrender himself at the Fulton County Jail tomorrow ahead of the deadline imposed by DA Fani Willis.
Yeah, Willis accuses President Trump of being the head of a criminal enterprise and that he was part of a broad conspiracy to overturn his electoral defeat in Georgia.
Republican Georgia State Senator Colton Moore doesn't buy any of it, and he is calling for Willis to be impeached for potentially abusing her position of power by pursuing a former president. And actually, I don't ever call Donald J. Trump.
No, that's right.
Representative Colton Moore joins us right now. Oh, welcome, Senator. Thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
Your
Thanks for having me.
predictions on how this thing ends, because I think Senator, this is what is really the big news of the day. I don't think that it's the non-debate happening, whatever we want to call it. I think it really is the fact that we have a political opponent of the left who is being persecuted in an effort to undermine his chances of winning the election. Your thoughts on outcomes?
Yeah, so I'm calling for a special session to immediately investigate this rogue district attorney. Unfortunately, though, it's hard to soar like an eagle when you're hanging around a bunch of buzzard Republicans who are flying around the land looking for every dead-end excuse not to do anything. So this is a rogue district attorney taking my and every Georgian's hardworking tax dollars to fund political persecution. She's taken on political prisoners. We have fellow senators in my caucus who are going to be indicted. Okay? If Stacey Abrams was governor right now, they wouldn't be senators anymore because they would be suspended from duties. This is a constitutional crisis in our state. And that's why I'm leading the charge, telling folks in Georgia to call their state senators, call their representatives, demand an emergency special session today. And the first and foremost priority when we get into that session, defunding state dollars from Fani Willis.
So I have to ask you, how is Governor Kemp responding to this call for an emergency session to have her removed from office?
I could not be more disappointed in Governor Kemp. I mean, he may have a beef with Donald Trump, just like many in leadership here in Georgia do, but this is not about Donald Trump. This is about the 2024 election and all future elections going forward. I mean, the precedent that this sets, imagine a future president who the people elected to make leadership decisions suddenly being reluctant to do so because they're worried they're going to be prosecuted. I mean, what happened to attorney-client privilege? Remember, these are novel cases, some of which the evidence is only a tweet. And Governor Kemp and Secretary Raffensperger took 19 days to certify the election results. I mean, this mess was created under their watch, and now they're just going to sit idly by and watch this rogue district attorney completely violate, in my opinion, her constitutional duty?
Well, you're absolutely right. And the other question I have for you, and we did this, several days ago, there were 24 minutes of Democrat after Democrat after Democrat denying the election. Stacey Abrams from your very own state has denied the election results. Why aren't they going after them?
Well, they shouldn't go after them, whether you're Barack Obama, Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton. Right. So that's the problem that we have to recognize. She's violating the Constitution. She has Eighth Amendment violations in her own home county. The ACLU is reporting that half of the inmates there haven't been charged with a crime. And then she's taking out people's First Amendment rights. Remember, these indictments are so novel. They're so broad. I mean, anybody who's been to law school, and I haven't, but I've talked to a few, and they say any indictment you should be able to read while running. You can't even comprehend the scope of this indictment. It's RICO charges. These individuals are facing the rest of their life in prison.
Yeah. Senator, is there a number? Is there a general number that people can call to get a hold of their senators and their whoever can make a difference in this? What is our action step?
Yeah, give us a call to action.
Yeah. So you can call the governor's office. The governor could make the decision right now. He could call the special session today if he would like to, or else it's going to take 3/5. It's going to take Republicans making the choice of whether they want to side with this radical district attorney or whether they want to side with the rule of law. It's very simple. Reach out to your local party. Reach out to other local leaders that may have this senator's phone number, but get a hold of that senator, get a hold of that representative and say, I don't want my tax dollars funding this rogue political persecution.
Colton, good for you for having the courage that so few Republicans seem to have nowadays. And please keep us up to date. And I'm sure everyone right now is taking notes and saying, I got to make this call right now. So please come back again. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Kind of hard to believe that this is going on in Georgia. It's hard. My brain just won't wrap around. Anyway, ahead as American Sunrise continues, more of our interview with political firebrand Carrie Lake.
But next, the deflating DeSantis campaign. How did the Republican candidate running against President Trump fall so hard, so fast? We'll be right back.
Patriots to American sunrise and lift a glass to the health of our children. According to the Gallup organization, young adults in the United States are drinking less than in prior decades. 62% of adults under age 35 say they drink, down from 72% 2 decades ago. Conversely, though, drinking has increased among adults aged 55 and older. Young adults also drinking less frequently, less likely to drink to excess. And this is definitely a good thing that young people are drinking less, but I think the new drug of choice might be social media. And I worry just a little bit, Miranda, about marijuana also.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
See, we're so in sync all the time. It's almost scary, but that's what I think. I mean, I was telling, some of our producers, you don't get to see their faces, but we do. We'll work on changing that. But David and Jamie, some of our new members of FRAV, we were talking about the other day, and that was the first thing that came to my mind, because I said, I realized the other day that there was they call them smoke shops. I think there were 5 within a mile radius from my house. I'm like, well, this explains a lot when it comes to the driving here in Florida.
Well, they used to call them kush shops, but that's not what they call them anymore. The marijuana shops are on every street corner. Well, the smoke shops are a little bit different because those are just for vaping, if I understand correctly. And those, though, are everywhere. And vaping might be another reason, because I know a lot of young people are vaping things, and not just young people, frankly, that aren't exactly pot, but they're kind of like pot. They're derivatives of the THC. And they're selling them under titles that even look like THC. It's very interesting what's happening. Is it better than them drinking? I don't know. One of my children vapes incessantly, and I am constantly saying to her, I am so worried. I know it's something going into your lungs. I don't know what. I realize it's not necessarily, the tobacco of the days of yore that killed my mother, by the way. But it is something going into your lungs constantly, and I just don't know that constantly, if that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Love to know your thoughts on that. But I wonder if the wellness company has anything in its emergency kit to help an addiction to social media or whatever it may be, vaping, you name it.
I don't think they do, but their emergency kit has just about anything else you could ever need, certainly in case of an emergency.
That is for sure. I mean, it is basically your ultimate solution for those unexpected health challenges. I mean, we're talking about everything like anthrax, bites, COVID, any kind of plague, pneumonia, skin infections, you name it. This kit is without a doubt, your best defense against a wide range of conditions. There's even ivermectin in there.
Yeah, and I love it because the information kit that you get with it teaches you how to use these things. And I think so much of what we have to do today is to take care of ourselves. We can't depend on this socialized medicine system to do it for us. You never know what life's going to throw at you. Could be another pandemic, unforeseen medical emergencies, and this kit has 8 different medications in it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, ivermectin, Z-Pak, comprehensive guidebook. I mean, again, just give yourself a little peace of mind. You want to check it out. Here's the website, twc.health/RAV today, and secure your emergency kit. And you have an exclusive offer. Again, use that code RAV and you get 10% off. So get back to that pre-pandemic feeling.
All right, let's see what David and Terrance have been up to. You can't leave them alone, Miranda, for very long because they get into trouble.
That is
gentlemen.
For sure.
Well, did someone say pills and shots? Well, I think the DeSantis campaign could actually use either of them right now, David. Ron DeSantis, of course, came out of the gate as the first serious Republican challenger to President Trump, but he has since been in a COVID-like stupor. A brand new Yahoo News YouGov poll has DeSantis plummeting from 23% support in July to just 12% right now. Crisis control expert and Republican strategist Mark Serrano joins us now with his thoughts on whether DeSantis can actually turn the ship around or if it's time to just abandon it. Mark, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Terrance. Good morning. Good morning, David.
So let's start here, Mark. Is there any way to turn this ship around? I know one of the first keys of crisis communication is don't try to kill the story, come up with a good approach to it. Is there any good way to approach this story?
Yeah, well, first off, we know that Ron DeSantis would not hire me. I've been part of the Trump team in one fashion or another, formal and informal, since May of 2015. But having said that, I think there are 3 keys to any presidential campaign, 3 drivers that he should focus on: messaging, money, and management. So if we can, let's go through those real quickly. So for messaging, his messaging has always been compromised because he's beholden to the donors and the political consultants. He's off track. It's not who he is. He's a Trump-endorsed candidate. He comes from America First policies. He's got to figure that out. His messaging is in conflict. Mm-hmm. And then money. With money, he's going to run out of money. And he needs to bootstrap this operation fast. But let's take a look then at the most important element he has not addressed, which is management. We know he demoted his campaign manager a few weeks ago. But let me tell you, that does not get to the core of his problem with management. I would advise Ron DeSantis, I'd say, Governor, you must fire your wife. If reports are true that Casey DeSantis is running this campaign, then he's got to terminate his wife from that job. Now, let me tell you, a spouse plays a very important role in a campaign. She needs to go run that, take that job over, and Ron DeSantis must fire his wife, Casey DeSantis, right away if he has any chance of reviving his campaign.
All right. So Mark, I don't think that's going to go over well at the dinner table, just an FYI. But beyond the marital issues that may ensue, maybe Ron DeSantis should fire his personality. I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way, though I guess that sounds very mean, actually. But the point is that what about the connection? There's never been a connection. He's smart, right? He's like 9 paragraphs deep. But it just doesn't work. It's not working for him. The connection is not there. Bill Clinton felt your pain, right? Barack Obama, hope and change. Donald Trump comes along and relates to the blue collar worker. He's the billionaire who talks like a cab driver. I mean, they all relate. And there's something about DeSantis that even on the debate stage tonight, he might be really good policy wise, and people at home might be going, wow, that's really impressive what he's saying. But then it's like womp womp when it comes to the connection.
Yeah, David, it's an excellent point. He's not connecting with voters. He doesn't have a message that resonates. But more importantly, he's uncomfortable in his own skin. And that's the problem. He's been revealed as a traditional politician. And that's where Donald Trump has exposed him very, very effectively. I don't know if you can change that, because the truth is he's sort of exposed for what he truly is. But he's got to find a way to get down with voters. It's not about sticking toothpicks in hard-boiled eggs and flipping burgers out at the state fair. It's about finding his core and finding a better way to connect with voters about his true beliefs, because everything he's done so far does not work. His polling has plummeted. The numbers that Terrance cited just from July in the Yahoo News poll are devastating for any campaign. I don't see him recovering from this, but he should go back to the basics, like you're saying, David, with his core messaging. He's got to find a better way to connect with people, and he probably ought to just sit in rounds of voters and listen to them and get some feedback from them about how we can better do that.
Mark, you said that the DeSantis campaign needs to focus on the 3 M's. You, of course, laid those out. But it seems to me there's a 4th M that he probably can't overcome, and that would be make America great again.
Yeah, look, I said for 2 years, Terrance, that Ron DeSantis ought to let people speculate wildly, but then in the spring of 23, he ought to endorse Donald Trump and be the heir apparent. And he could be that right now. But instead, he listened to the donors. He listened to the political consultants that said, Donald Trump's vulnerable. He may be sitting in prison at some time. And they underestimated Donald Trump, which people have been doing for 8 years. He totally turned his back on the America First movement, Terrance. He turned his back on them. He showed his disloyalty to Donald Trump. I don't see anybody recovering from that. It would be possible, but he'd have to change way too much right now to earn respect back from MAGA.
Well, and here's the thing, Mark. Tonight, I'm waiting for Ron DeSantis to actually, quote, say his name. Say Donald Trump's name on stage. He never does that. He always talks about, like when it comes to pardoning Trump or the 2-tiered system of justice, he goes into some policy wonk speech about it, but he never says Donald Trump has been vilified and this is wrong what they're doing to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is a victim. He never says Donald Trump's name. I'm curious if he's going to say it tonight. And also, I wonder wonder if he should just pack it up at this point on the debate stage. I know he's not going to, but basically play for 2028 and start to maybe endear himself back to MAGA by defending Trump on stage tonight. I think that would be a smart move. I don't think he's going to do it, but we'll see.
Yeah, David, the biggest thing in Ron DeSantis's way in blocking him from being able to properly define the problem in politics today and what Joe Biden is doing to Donald Trump is his ego. His ego is in his way. The reality is he ought to stand up proudly tonight and say, Donald Trump is being persecuted by his top opponent, Joe Biden.
Right.
Donald Trump would be pardoned if I were ever president. He should start this debate tonight saying that, and he can take a step towards trying to rehabilitate his image and his standing with the America First movement looking towards 2028. But he'd have to get his own ego out of the way. He'd have to fire his wife, because that will be necessary to run a properly managed campaign. And he'd have to shift his messaging. He'd have to bootstrap his operation. But he'd have to get over his ego. He'd have to basically humble himself to say, I was wrong. For the last 8 months, I've been dead wrong.
All right, 30 seconds left here. We don't want to just beat up on Ron DeSantis, because let's just be honest. Anybody on that debate stage is in crisis mode as it relates to trying to even contend against Donald Trump. Nobody even has a shot. So what is the best approach for any of the candidates on the debate stage to even make an impression tonight?
I think if I were standing on that debate stage, number one is I would embrace Donald Trump and the America First movement. Number two is I would talk about what binds us together as Republicans. What we need for Republicans to do is focus on this disastrous economy, the missteps of Joe Biden, the open border, the crisis overseas. Those are the things that I would focus on to make a standing, make a play for the Republican nomination, embrace Donald Trump, attack Joe Biden.
Mark Serrano, really appreciate your time. You are a crisis control expert, and it's perfect title for this Ron DeSantis segment.
I appreciate you having me, guys. American Sunrise is doing a great job. Love to Gina and Miranda. Keep up the great work, gang.
You see how he shouted out the ladies and forgot about us, David? Really? That's what we're doing,
that's
Mark?
right. That's right. We just did the interview with you, and you're like, hey, best to Gina and Miranda.
Thanks
a lot.
guys. Sorry, guys.
Cut the guy off. Cut the guy off.
And there we go. Put him away. Cut off his Skype. Just kidding. All right. When we come back, we will hear from Dr. Gina and Miranda, because we're going to talk about Joe Biden and what is happening in Maui, or more specifically, what's happening to Joe Biden. Blunder after blunder. Let's go down the list, shall we? It's a long one. Back in a moment on American Sunrise.
back to American Sunrise. Time now to stay awake, not woke. Of course, brought to us. I need more of their coffee, apparently. Brought to us by the good folks at Beard Vet Coffee.
Brought to someone.
Again, want to mention, go to beardvet.com and you can use that promo code RAP for 10% off. And I just have to say, Gina, love that Mark Serrano.
Love Mark Serrano.
Love him.
Next time, producers, David, the next time we have Mark Serrano on, we'd really like to have him on with us because we believe he should be able to say those nice things up front and personal. He's so great. And I thought the points he made, honestly,
spot on.
I mean, fire your wife. Who says that on national television? I thought that was so fantastic. All right, sleepy Joe Biden definitely needs some Beard Vet coffee. He is asleep every day.
He needs this.
Yes, let's bring
the whole
in,
thing.
Should we let Brody back in though? Even though that he responded like that, should we let Brody back in?
We need to forgive.
All right, let's bring in David for some help with his story.
I'm begging to be let back in. Thank you.
We always want you back in.
We love you, David.
Yes. All right, take a look though, David, at Sleepy Joe Biden's 9 cruel Maui bungles. This is bad. So 9. How do you even do that in 5 hours?
He can do that in 5 minutes.
I'm really good at screwing things up, but I going for 9 in 5 hours.
Yeah, this is an art form. He's had 50 plus years to work on it. So number 1, lying on the beach while Maui burns to the ground. 2, no comment while on vacation. 3, no comment for a full week. 4, refusing to visit Maui for more than 2 weeks. Number 5, Maui residents blast Biden's lack of response. 6, Biden uses Maui visit to tell unintelligible joke about hot ground. Yes, you can't make this up.
What? I didn't even know that one yet.
I know, right? 7, Biden offers devastated Maui households a whopping $700 each. Are you kidding me?
Insulting.
So insulting. 8, just bear with us. Biden uses Maui tragedy to lie again about nearly losing his home and his wife and, of course, his Corvette. 9, Biden dozes off. Yes, dozes off during ceremony honoring the Maui victims. David, I mean, again, I think we need to have a new segment. You're looking at Biden right now dozing off. So for those of you that are drinking your coffee, take a look at this man. How insulting can you possibly be? I mean, one of those things is bad. To do 9 of them, and I'm sure there's more that we just haven't, recognized yet.
And the media is trying to say that that's being taken out of context, and then I kind of looked at it more specifically. No, it's not, because the media is saying that this was a time where they were remembering the victims, and everybody was kind of contemplating and thinking, and then you look around, and everybody's like walking around, or has their heads up and acknowledging. I mean, it's not like a prayer or anything. It's not like everybody let's bow our heads. Joe Biden was going bowing his head and apparently sleeping. And this thing with the 9, the list that we just show the 9, it's like you can't even rank them. They're all bad. It's like you can't even say, like 9 is just as bad as 1, and 4 is just as bad as 3. And there was even some video. We'll have to show it later this week on American Sunrise. A guy was flipping Biden's motorcade, the bird, in Hawaii as he was passing by, and that kind of sums it all up. So I mean, this is what we've got.
There was a group of them. It was a long parade of those birds. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But
they're not saying you're number 1. That's for sure.
Them saying that that he was just praying. I mean, does the left even pray? Do they say the Pledge of Allegiance? Do they sing the Star Spangled? I was wondering this the other day as we were opening an event at one of our venues, where a bunch of conservatives were speaking. And I thought, what does the left do anymore? I don't think they do any of that anymore.
Well, Gina, I would like to just say that
you can't even show the flag. Go ahead.
Yeah, they do pray to their environmental gods. That's the problem, and they have and to the cultural Marxist gods. And by the way, Miranda, I'm going to fact check you. You said yesterday Joe Biden spent 40% of his time on vacation. I would like to say he spent 100% time on vacation during this presidency. So please, Miranda Khan. But anyhow, beyond that, I believe that Joe Biden. Yeah, please come on. But I believe honestly that Joe provide.
It was 40%. He was on vacation, but to say that he was actually been working, the only thing
physically, mentally, he's always on vacation. Children, I'll solve this as the mother of 5.
Okay.
David, mentally, he's on vacation 100% of the time. Miranda, physically, was right. It's only 40% of the time. Now you all go play nicely.
I was being
together.
facetious, or as Joe
you have
Biden
the right
says.
to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. That's right. That's what happens when you have the name Miranda.
I was being facetious.
That's right. Exactly. All right. Still love you, David. We got to run, though, so we'll be right back. Hold on to that thought. Still ahead on American Sunrise, though, more with political firecracker Carrie Lake.
But also next, reports that FEMA officials in Hawaii are staying in $1,000 a night rooms. You can't make this up. That's your tax dollars at work to help those who lost everything in the fires. Outrageous. Be right back. To American Sunrise, Terrance Bates out in Denver, David Brody drowning in swampland. We're happy to have you both.
Well, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, we hate. As well, I'm sorry, David. I mean, it is true. I mean, you have a nice clear shot there. You guys dressed so well in your coordinating purple ties.
How they coordinated.
And you even coordinated with Mark Serrano, who also had on a purple tie.
Go with that
Miranda and I were laughing.
Here we go with that again. He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to talk to you. Can we just leave him in the past, please?
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Well, we want to talk to you guys, and we're happy to all be on set together, and at least as we are.
Yes.
We hate to ruffle feathers so early in the morning, but this is one that is going to upset many of you watching. More than 100 FEMA workers, as I told you before break, are staying in 5-star hotels in Maui on your dime, while thousands of people are homeless due to the wildfires. This story is so unbelievably outrageous. FEMA officials are reportedly budgeting $1,000 a night for each worker. And what's worse, the 3 high-end hotels are 45 minutes away from the fire-ravaged part of Maui, right? So the part that got hit, this is what I'm hearing, is probably a part that is maybe just a little more working class than the part where the expensive hotels are 45 minutes away. Maui is very much like that. I know here in Florida, the different areas are very mixed. It's very, you'll have one block away, you'll have Section 8 housing from millionaires that are right on the water.
Right.
And this happens all the time in Florida. It isn't like that so much in Hawaii, in my experience anyway. It's sides of the island.
Well, and this would explain, too, again, we were talking about this earlier in the show, guys, that, the gentleman that we spoke with, your friend, who is in Hawaii, said, we haven't even seen FEMA. They haven't received any of the supplies there. Well, maybe it's because they're 45 minutes away.
45 minutes away, enjoying their $1,000 a night hotels. And let me say something else. When you're staying in a $1,000 a night hotel, you're going to enjoy the amenities. It's a sick thought, but why else would you stay there? If you're just sleeping and working all day, isn't the local Super 8 motel good enough for you to do your job? Or did you want that sky bar, and did you want that hot tub and that swimming pool? The whole thought of it is so disgusting. I can barely even wrap my head around it, David.
Personally, just drive up to the Motel 6 and park it for the night. But even if it's not a Motel 6, all right, fine, a Hampton Inn, I don't care. But this 45 minutes away and all this money is ridiculous. But FEMA has a history of this. Government waste and fraud and abuse. It is. FEMA, Hurricane Maria, for example, there was an Inspector General's report on Hurricane Maria regarding Puerto Rico, where FEMA was totally not following any sort of regulations about the money. And then, of course, Hurricane Katrina, if we go way back on Hurricane Katrina, there came out a report about 21% of the money that was being used by FEMA was, in essence, abused. It was like empty trailers that were just sitting there and no one was in them. And it was just like the government was so inept. So this should not surprise any of us.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I'd love to know what our viewers think at home. Again, join us on Getter or any social media platform for that matter and share your voice with us. Coming up next, we have much more ahead here on the second hour of American Sunrise. John Solomon and Amanda Head with Just the News are up next from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the debate is going to take place tonight. We're going to touch. What was I going to say? We're going to connect with them. That's what I was going to say when we come back. Just ahead on American Sunrise, it's debatable if anyone will watch. Should tonight's Republican debate without President Trump be called basically the whimper in Wisconsin?
And Miranda, tomorrow, President Trump heads to Atlanta to surrender after the latest indictment against him. We've got the very latest on his fight for justice.
And she is a lightning bolt, and she's back. Carrie Lake here with more insight on life in and out of the D.C. swamp and what her next moves might entail.
We've got your back as you start your day.
Articulating what the majority of Americans feel today, and I really appreciate that you do.
Y'all tell the truth.
You guys are our voice.
We watch every morning while getting ready for work.
It's hour 2 of American Sunrise. We're so happy to see you. Good morning. I'm Dr. Gina.
And I'm Miranda Khan. Thank you so much. We know you have lots of options out there, so we appreciate you tuning in to RAV and being a part of our family. And we're coming to you live from West Palm Beach.
And let's bring in David Brody. He's out in Washington, D.C., doing the thing.
Doing his thing as he always does. Looking forward to it. It's a big day. We've got, again, the president's going to be supposedly turning himself in Atlanta tomorrow. And then, of course, you've got the big debate happening tonight, if you want to call it that. Many of you are probably just vying for second place. So far, most of our viewers are saying Vivek. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. And then, of course, you've got Tucker Carlson interviewing Trump tonight, and it's going to be really interesting.
But I think a lot of people are betting on Vivek. I think that it's a possibility that he does extremely well. I think the thing that he's going to have to watch is he's very used to putting a ton of energy behind everything that he does and says, and he's very used also to being very sort of transparent, going for this authenticity card that we all know and love with Donald Trump, who's sort of trying to be the Trump 2.0, if you will. I think he's going to have to be very careful not to overdo that. I think it's easy, and I think that the other candidates in the lineup will be vying to entice him to do exactly that.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch. And he's actually going to be the subject of a lot of attacks tonight as well from DeSantis, for sure. And Vivek is so smart, but sometimes you can get a little bit too wonky. And he's going to be called out on some of the hypocrisy as well that has been going on, at least some of the candidates feel. Anyhow, I'm going to be ready for the debate. I've got ginger for nausea, and I've got fennel seeds for constipation. But having said that, not that that is TMI.
It's morning,
I'm sorry,
David.
I'm sorry. Did I just say constipation on national television? My bad.
Yes,
I apologize.
It's morning. People are trying to have their breakfast, David.
Sometimes, listen, ladies, sometimes my inside voice comes out. But Terrance Bates in Denver has a great outside voice, and he brings us today's headlines. Terrance Bates, great to see you in Denver. What a transition. I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Back to you. I don't want to go. Back to you. After that, back to you. Please, have at it. Sheesh. All right, guys, let's get to it. Tonight's Republican presidential primary debate likely won't even be the biggest television event of the week. Listen to this. President Trump's court appearance as soon as tomorrow on racketeering charges will likely be what the entire world tunes in for this week. Tuesday, a Fulton County judge approved an order allowing cameras in the courtroom for President Trump's arraignment, which could happen anytime between tomorrow and September 8th. President Trump is already confirming that he plans to turn himself into authorities tomorrow evening for booking and processing. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is also insisting on the $200,000 bond for the former president. And after weeks of speculation, Massachusetts public safety and security officials have ruled the death of President Barack Obama's personal chef an accident. Tafari Campbell drowned while paddleboarding in Martha's Vineyard late last month. Shortly after his death, video surfaced online showing Campbell being a proficient swimmer, which of course led many to believe that his death was suspicious. However, investigators say another paddleboarder saw him struggling and then go underwater. Campbell is survived by a wife and twin sons. Texas is the latest state to be underwater after what is now tropical depression blew ashore near Padre Island on Tuesday evening. Harold is still forecast to bring heavy rain and powerful winds to southern Texas. It is the second named storm of the week to hit the United States. Tropical storm Hillary brought record-breaking rainfall to Southern California earlier this week. Forecasters say that rain from Hillary brought the potential for life-threatening flooding across the southwestern United States. You're looking at video of flooding flooded Dodger Stadium, which paints a picture of the historic rainfall that hit Southern California. That's a quick check of your headlines. By the way, David, as we go back to you, just in India apparently has just landed a spaceship, if you will, or a spacecraft on the moon, becoming now the fourth country in the world to land on the lunar surface. I bring that up because your next interview has to do with the debate, and there are probably going to be some space cadets on the debate stage.
You see, you're so good at transitions, Terrance. You know, you are the master transitioner. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. That's right. We've got a lot to talk about regarding the debate, so let's head straight to Wisconsin, where John Solomon and Amanda Head, the co-hosts of Just the News, Not Noise, are in Wisconsin. John and Amanda, good to see you. And really the burning question at this point, the question everybody in America wants to know, have either one of you had any cheese yet in Wisconsin?
Every single meal.
Yep, 3 times a day.
3 times a day. John Solomon, all right, keeping regular with the cheese. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about this debate coming up. Let's talk about this debate. What do you expect? What's the buzz without Trump? I mean, how much buzz is there? I mean, there's going to be news to report either way.
Yeah, listen, I think people are going to see, does Donald Trump draw a larger audience with his show than the debate or not? I think that'll be one statement from the American people. The other is who emerges from the pack. There's a pack of candidates. None has broken out to be the legitimate second challenger to Donald Trump. And I think tonight is their night. Everyone's going to be trying to jockey to be that person. I think you're going to see Ron DeSantis focus on the substance of his governorship. Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, really making an appeal to young people who often aren't attracted to the Republican Party, and the rest all scrapping to try to make a point, score a point, and try to say, hey, I'm the viable number 2 candidate behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, and look, nobody wants to watch a stage full of stiff suits and dresses. So my hope is that each one of them, they find their policy points and they articulate them well, but also that they just have fun. Because, you know, selfishly, I would like for Donald Trump to be on that stage tonight because it always brings an extra heat to the evening. But since he's not there, I think that these folks, you know, they're going to have to find ways to emerge and differentiate themselves from the others, but just to have fun, because the Republican Party has had this stiff persona for a very long time, and it's a beautiful stage of diversity, and Democrats love to talk about how they are the party of diversity. No. I mean, at time after time of the last 3 election cycles, you look at these debate stages, and it's Republicans who have that diversity, and it's also diversity of thought, and that's the most important aspect. So that's what's going to shine tonight, and again, I just hope they have fun.
That's a really good point about diversity. And, of course, Democrats love to talk about it, yet never really show it. John and Amanda, let me ask you a little bit about the makeup of the audience tonight. I mean, my understanding is it's invite only, obviously. Republican National Committee kind of doling it out along with their debate partners. It'll be interesting to see the audience's reaction, especially with Mike Pence on the debate stage, if you think about it, for the first time as a presidential candidate. And I wonder if the boos may cascade down on him. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking for. And of course, with Vivek Ramaswamy, he's going to get some incoming fire tonight from DeSantis and others because he's climbing in the polls.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the dynamic between DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be the most interesting dynamic, because they're neck and neck behind Trump, but, 30, 40, 50 points behind, depending on the poll. I think that's one thing. And then I'd keep an eye on not just Mike Pence, but I think Asa Hutchinson's another guy that isn't very popular in Trump world. So if there are some MAGA people in the audience, he's another guy that could get a couple of boo birds, I think.
Look, if we're ever going to revert back to Shakespearean times and see tomatoes thrown, I think tonight's debate is the time that's going to happen, because of folks like Mike Pence. Unfortunately, I think that Ron DeSantis made a comment recently about how he's the only one running for president on that stage. Everyone else is just vying for VP. I'm pretty sure that the former VP is not vying to be VP again. So that's going to create a really interesting dynamic, and I think the crowd is going to be really vocal. I mean, we have seen this new dynamic in the Republican Party of no holds barred, and it's going to be interesting to see how the audience reacts, for sure.
Let me get a 10-second reaction out of each of you about this. What DeSantis and others need to do. Do you think they need to applaud Trump on the stage tonight or criticize him? What's your view? Or they have to pick and choose their spots? 10 seconds each here.
They're going to have to say, I embrace his policies, but I'm a better leader.
It never looks good to criticize someone behind their back. I think they should be nice.
Very nice. And that was a combined 10 seconds, which is extremely impressive. That you can only do that with two trained television professionals.
It's all that cheese.
It's almost like we're on air every day together.
All right. Stay right there, guys, in Wisconsin. Don't go anywhere. John, please have some more cheese. Amanda, feel free. We're going to be back in a moment talking about, well, time to drain the swamp. We'll talk about it in a moment. And it's time to drain the swamp here in American Sunrise, sponsored by Sea of Mud. More on Sea of Mud in a moment. First, back to Wisconsin. John Solomon, Amanda Head, co-host of Just the News, Not Noise. There's going to be a lot of noise tonight on stage, definitely some news. So the perfect host for this subject and topic. We talked about the debate earlier. John, I want to just show this Just the News headline clip this morning. You guys are always out with new news every day. This is talking about Hunter Biden struggling with the Burisma fallout, and his father, Joe Biden, moved to fire prosecutor probing the firm. And you talk about the parallel tracks here, and this is really crucial. I'd love to give this, 10 to 15 minutes, but give me kind of the basic gist of what's happening here and what dots need to be connected, John.
Well, ever since Donald Trump's impeachment in 2019, Joe Biden has had a singular story. Yeah, I fired the prosecutor. Yeah, he was investigating my son's company. But I did it only because I was carrying out U.S. policy. Bureaucrats recommended this, and I did it. What we've shown over the last 48 hours is that the State Department's internal documents actually told Joe Biden to do the opposite thing. They told him to give $1 billion in Ukraine, not withhold it, and that the prosecutor, Victor Shokin, was actually doing a pretty good job reforming the anti-corruption efforts in Ukraine. So Joe Biden took the opposite track of what he was asking for. Another one of his statements from the 2019-2020 timeframe that has been disproven. The second part is when you look at when Joe Biden makes this change, when he actually changes the policy, not follows the policy, it comes at a time when Hunter Biden himself is under enormous pressure from Burisma to deal with the same prosecutor who's investigating Burisma Holdings for corruption. He's escalating. He's about to seize assets from Hunter Biden's boss. They don't like it, and he's making calls. He meets with one of Joe Biden's advisors. He's asked to call his father at one point, and it's in that moment where Hunter Biden's under all this pressure that Joe Biden just seems to flip a switch and say, oh, forget the policy they just told me to do. I'm going to go try to fire this guy and withhold the $1 billion. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's just such a fascinating connect the dots story. And of course, the dots need to continue to connect, and House Republicans are trying to do that. Amanda, I'm curious as it relates to the debate tonight, and not Hunter Biden so much, but Joe Biden. I wonder if there's going to be a raise the hands question. They love to do that on the debate, raise the hand. And here's the question that Brett Baer or Martha McCallum could ask, which is basically, do you support the impeachment or the impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden? And I'm curious to see if everybody will raise their hands. I'm also curious to see if a Donald Trump question, a raise the hands Donald Trump question comes up, whether or not you will pardon Donald Trump if you become president. I think those could make for some moments tonight, Amanda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that on the second question of pardoning President Trump, I think you would probably find a pretty magnanimous and unanimous reaction across the board. As far as impeaching Joe Biden, there are a couple different schools of thought surrounding that idea. The first one is that they should open an inquiry and reveal a lot of this information to the American people, make sure that there are cameras and eyeballs on all of this, because that's one of the best ways to make sure that you shed light and oxygen on it for the American people. But a lot of folks think that impeaching Joe Biden would not be good for Republicans politically. The other school of thought is that Democrats have been playing smash mouth politics for the last 10 years, and especially as you see Marxist ideas creep into their platform, and the only way to fight fire is with fire. And so as a result, if Republicans don't start playing the same dirty games, Democrats will just continue to trounce all over Republicans. So it'll be interesting to see which side of those two arguments, and maybe there's another, but those two sides, those folks on the stage land on.
Amanda Head, John Solomon, great to have you. Got to run. Thanks for being here from Wisconsin. Good luck tonight. Just the news, not noise. 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Real America's Voice. Miranda, Gina, back to you in West Palm.
Thanks so much, David. This Drain the Swamp segment sponsored by Sea of Mud, seaofmud.com. Use promo code RAV1776 for 15% off. Such a cool website. You've got to go on there, seaofmud.com. They are rural America's patriotic apparel company. They're American made, and they have much more than shirts. They have knives, drinkware, swimwear, jewelry. Lots of stuff for all kinds of people. We were on the website, and we thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And, we're all sick of, made in China, made in China. Well, this is a patriotic company, so be sure and check it out. Again, way more than just T-shirts, although the T-shirts are pretty cool. But
They are really cool. I love the Trader Joe, Traitor with a T, Joe shirt. Anyway. All right, up next, Carrie Lake told us what the most important issue is in the 2024 campaign. Her comments are next right here on America's Sunrise. Love that shot of El Paso.
Beautiful.
Back in the West Texas town. Okay. Miranda and I continued our conversation yesterday with Carrie Lake after the show. And Carrie Lake says that the election integrity issue is the top issue. Listen.
You know that election integrity, election reform, rooting out election fraud and election crime has been very important to me and the people of Arizona. And frankly, I can tell you the people all over this country care about having honest elections. So I still have my court case moving forward. I will not give up. I will not stop fighting for that. And I will continue along pushing my election case. And I won't be conceding by any means. We had a victory stolen from us. And so that is a priority for me. At the same time, we have an opportunity to pick up a Senate seat in Arizona. I've seen the polling. I've seen the internal polling showing that I can win. I'm the only Republican who can win and can actually beat both Kyrsten Sinema and the Democrat running. We have basically two Democrats running. Kyrsten Sinema has now told everybody she's going to become independent because she can't beat the Democrat in the primary. And so we have an opportunity to get an America First patriot and somebody who loves this country in the U.S. Senate. And I would be there to help back up and support President Trump's incredible agenda to get America back on track. So we're going to really seriously look at that. I'm considering it. I will be making a decision here in the coming months on whether I want to pursue that.
Well, we'd love for you to join us again on American Sunrise if you would like.
Yeah.
The invitation is out there to make that announcement.
Carrie, I have a quick personal question for you before we let you go. This has to be a sort of pressure that really no human being in American history has endured on President Trump. And I always like to say he uses pressure like this as fuel. I always feel like when I see him after he's been through something like this, you can tell that he's even more amped up, right? He's even more ready to go. It's as if he consumes his enemies for fuel. But this is a lot to look at years and years and years in prison at his age when he really doesn't need this. I guess I'm asking you, Carrie, we don't see him a lot in Palm Beach this time of year because he's over in Bedminster. A lot of people don't understand that's his schedule. He comes back here in October, so not very long from now. But I know that you've seen him and spoken with him recently. Can you just give us an update? How is he doing?
Well, you know, pressure can either crack you or make you stronger. You know, pressure is how diamonds are formed. And I like to think that pressure makes President Trump stronger. I have never seen him more focused, more strong. I talked to him a couple nights ago. We had a really long conversation. He's just can't believe how corrupt our government has become and that he's being persecuted like this by really some very shady actors out there, incredibly shady folks. And this is so obvious. He noted that each time they indict him, it's usually hours after something bad has come out about Joe Biden. And he really believes that people can see right through this. The American people are smart. They can see right through this. And so I know that he feels the love and the prayers coming at him from people like us and all over the country. And his whole stance, and he said this to me, what are our choices? We have to fight. I mean, I certainly don't want to look in my children's eyes, 2 years down the line, if we didn't fight and if we were to lose our country. And they would say, Mom, what did you do? Why did you quit? Why didn't you keep fighting for us? I am going to fight every single day. As long as God is giving me breath in my lungs, I'm going to stand up and do what's right to save this country. And I know that President Trump feels the same way. I hate that he's going through this. I really do. But I believe in the end, he will prevail. And the true criminals will be revealed. And I believe there will be justice someday. And that's what the people want. Somebody said, we just need to forget about this and forgive everybody. How do we forgive the people who forced COVID on us and forced masks on our children unless we see justice? We can't forgive without justice. And I know that when President Trump gets back into office, there will be a large dose of justice. And I think the people want that. And then we can move forward.
Yeah. Carrie, I think this is the most important fight in American history. And I tell you what, knowing your heart the way I do, I just want to thank you for sticking in there the way you have, risking everything, including those children that you love so much, to be there in the midst of this fight. I think many perhaps don't understand the level of dedication, commitment, and loyalty and love that it takes, and faith to continue to operate really as almost a second in command to Donald Trump of MAGA. And we just appreciate you being at the tip of the spear in this fight. We can't thank you enough. I want you to know this audience and all of us here at RAV are praying for you, and we very much appreciate your very valuable time today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, guys. God put us all here at this moment, and we all have a God-given gift, and we can help save this country. We are
Again, there you just heard Carrie Lake making headlines yesterday during our overtime edition of American Sunrise, saying she is going to run, considering running for Senate.
Yeah, and also making headlines saying that she's going into that spin room no matter who tells her she can't. So watch for that tonight if you're watching.
Yeah, please do. All right, let's head back over to Terrance in Denver for some headlines, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Let's take you straight to Wall Street now as the opening bell is getting ready to sound. There you go. You have the bell. The markets are now open, and it looks like so far so good. Futures were all in the greens, and now the Dow Jones starting off in the green as well on a positive note. The S&P 500 as well as the NASDAQ all in the green as well. So all is well that starts well there on Wall Street. In the meantime, the Federal Deposit and Insurance Corporation will propose new rules next week to strengthen oversight of the U.S. banking system. The idea is to avoid another banking system collapse like what we saw earlier this year. The FDIC is expected to focus on ensuring that large regional banks are prepared for the possibility of failure. All of this comes after this year's string of bank collapses, including the 3 largest in U.S. history. The proposal will reportedly require banks with at least $100 billion in assets to issue long-term debt that could absorb any bank losses before depositors or the FDIC have to step in. The plan will also require bank recovery and resolution plans in order to give the FDIC more options in overseeing a bank's receivership. As central banks in countries like China, India, and Australia begin transitioning to a digital currency, the Federal Reserve has been contemplating the very same thing right here in the United States. With the digital currency, the government could track every single purchase you make. Officials could even prohibit you from purchasing certain products or easily freeze or seize part or all of your money. These are just some of the reasons that concerned Americans are reaching out to the Birch Gold Group. They really want to have a physical asset that's independent from the U.S. dollar. Gold, held tax-sheltered in a retirement account, might just be the thing for you. So learn if gold is right for you simply by texting the word America to the number 989898, and then they'll send you a free information kit on gold. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of satisfied customers, countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has been helping listeners just like you from the very beginning. So text the word America to the number 989898 and claim your free information kit on gold, because if a central bank digital currency does become reality, it'll be nice to have some gold on hand that you can depend on. That's a quick check of your economic headlines. Now, let's get you back to our West Palm Beach studios. Dr. Gina, Miranda, good morning.
Good morning to you, Terrance. All right, coming up, 2024 is getting saucy, and Vivek Ramaswamy is the top target tonight at the debates. And one candidate, unfortunately, just suffered an injury that could possibly take him out of debates. We're going to be telling you who, and that is all coming up. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
weekend's off to a good start. Dr. Gina and I are here once again in West Palm Beach. This is American Sunrise, and we appreciate of all the channels out there that you tune into this one. We really do. Thank you for being a part of our family. So the primary elections getting a little saucy. All right, this spicy story about Vivek Ramaswamy is sponsored by our good friends over at Red State Barbecue. RedStateBarbecue.com is a website you need to go to and use this promo code RAV10 for 10% off. My good friend Gina, who forgot to invite me to her barbecue over the weekend, swears by the apple bourbon. I would know because I wasn't invited.
But you can grab other classic favors and you can have a barbecue of your own, Miranda. This is sweet, Texas spicy. They have North Carolina, South Carolina. They have all these local barbecue flavors, which I think is so fun because whenever I drive cross country, I like to stop along the way.
Yeah,
at all of the different barbecues. I like the mustard kind. I like the vinegar kind.
Alabama, you know.
Roll Tide. I always have to get that in there when we talk about Alabama. You got to try your own. See if their Red State version of your state's barbecue holds up to the others in your state. It is promo code RAV10 at Red State Barbecue for 10% off. All right. We need some help for David Brody for this next story.
Yeah, we do. David, welcome once again, joining us live from, what? You're not in trouble. He's like, what did I do now? Did you see that? You did.
Guilty conscience much, David?
I'm in American Sunrise Jail. I've gone in American Sunrise Jail, yeah. All right.
No, we got to get out of jail card.
When you did the turkey meatloaf, though, David, did you try any of the Red State barbecue?
No, but I needed
we'll have to ask
That was
that
the problem. That was the problem. It was just
we're going to work on it. All right. Guys, we got to move along. So we're going to get to Vivek in just a moment. We have some breaking news though coming in. So North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum has apparently been injured in what appears to be a basketball game that he participated in the other night, and he may not be able to stand for the debate. That's the word out right now. We still don't know. David, what will we do without Doug Burgum on the stage?
Well,
again, most people don't even know who he really is.
Yeah, America has been thrown for a loop. I mean, what are Americans going to do that Doug Burgum isn't on the stage tonight? I mean, you know, people were going around today going, gosh, I can't wait to hear what he has to say. But no, apparently he won't be there. And even if he is, it doesn't matter. It's all a layup. Thank you very much for Donald Trump. All right, back to you.
Ooh, well played. Would you see that layup?
Saying that, we do hope that he's doing well.
Yes.
And hope that it's nothing permanent. Not being able to stand on stage for the duration of the thing sounds a little more serious than just pulled hamstring. So we'll
continue to follow that
pray
story.
The best for him. Yes, absolutely.
Pray for them because obviously we don't wish ill will upon anybody.
No, we
and
don't.
We'll continue to follow the story and bring you updates. All right, now let's get to Vivek. So tonight in Milwaukee, things may be getting pretty saucy, as you know, on the debate stage, and it looks like Vivek Ramaswamy is the candidate that others intend to pounce on, because Trump's not there. So why is Vivek a target? Well, also because he's been surging, right? I mean, DeSantis is just going down and down and down, but Vivek has continued to go up, replacing DeSantis sometimes in second place, also third place in polls. So interesting.
And Nikki Haley has, of course, been taking jabs at him over his stance on aid to Israel, tweeting that Ramaswamy is completely wrong to call for ending America's special bond with Israel, and writing, this is part of a pattern with Vivek. His foreign policies have a common theme, she said. They make America less safe. Also, Mike Pence planning to hit Vivek for his controversial 9/11 comments, where he said some things that some people were offended by. Vivek suggested that several times this month that the government lied about the 9/11 attacks. Take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely was involved, and our government for 20 years lied to the American people about it.
There was an entire 9/11 commission report
actually.
On this.
Yes, and it lied, and it was false. And in fact, you know where that's coming out, Caitlin? There's now a federal case in the Southern District of New York, where the government of Saudi Arabia is being sued by victims of families. That's why this is resurfacing itself. It is relevant, and it turns out
But there's a difference in asking questions about Saudi Arabia's involvement and the government's involvement, and then pushing this idea that whenever your comment about who was on the plane, and then was 9/11 an inside job where you did not say no earlier? That's why it's important to clarify those comments, because otherwise it feels like you're towing the line when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Caitlin, I am guilty as charged that I do not follow the establishment super PAC donor-approved script on these questions, but I am speaking truth, grounded in fact, at every step of the way, and that's what's really elicited something of an anaphylactic reaction of the kind we saw in 2016 against a different candidate. But this...
So, as Gina mentioned, Pence, pouncing on that as well. But Vivek shooting back at the former Veep, responding in a long tweet defending his point of view, saying this, quote, the 9/11 Commission flatly lied about potential Saudi involvement in the attacks.
So we should expect to see things get a little saucy, you're saying.
Yeah.
We'll have reaction to all of it. We will have clips from the best parts of it, if there are any good parts
highlights,
of it.
lowlights.
As we go on stage with what was the 8 dwarves and now might be the 7th.
Yeah. Ooh, well played. What do you think, David? I mean, do you think he's going to be the one targeted the most tonight, as most people are projecting?
I think so. I think DeSantis will obviously be in the crosshairs as well. I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy is going to get hit too bad on 9/11 because, look, if you're saying that the government was lying to you, I think the populist MAGA base will go, tell me something I don't know. So I think that's not going to hit him. I do think he's vulnerable on Israel. I think that's going to be a concern because I know there's some folks within MAGA that have concerns about aid to Israel. But for the most part, Donald Trump's been very strong on Israel, and this has been typically a strong Republican traditional talking point, more than a talking point, a policy, and it's biblical. I mean, we can get into Israel and funding, but it is biblical, and I think that he's going to be hit on that for sure. Hey, ladies, I want to kind of move and switch gears now to January 6th and specifically talk about an event last night at Bedminster in New Jersey at Donald Trump's country club there, a January 6th event hosted by the Patriot Freedom Project. Cynthia Hughes is now with us. She's the president of Patriot Freedom Project, joins us now from Bedminster. Cynthia, tell us about the event, and great to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. Good morning, Dr. Gina. I really appreciate you bringing me on, David, to talk about this great event. It was our second fundraiser at Bedminster in less than 2 months. We had a lot of people show up. We sold a good amount of tickets. We had some January 6 families there with the kids. President Trump came in towards the end of the evening. And, in his true form, he was concerned for the people in the room, concerned for, the victims of January 6th, but really the children, because that's been the big thing for me in this, is helping the children survive this trauma. And there he is. Behind him is Rachel Powell's 3 children. Rachel Powell is from Pennsylvania. She's a J6 defendant, didn't enter the building. Unfortunately, she was with a group that broke a window, no criminal history. She's been on home confinement for more than 2 years. Home confinement for more than 2 years. She's going to be sentenced by Judge Lamberth. Not good. In October, she has 8 children. It's not looking good for her. We see some jail time ahead for her. And so the Patriot Freedom Project, we're doing everything we can to help people like Rachel Powell and her family, her children. President Trump took the kids into a private room and he gave them all a hat and he signed the hat and he hugged them, encouraged them. Rachel's youngest boy, he just broke down. He was crying. It just was emotional. It was emotional for President Trump. And I'll tell you, David, President Trump is the only person, I hate to say it this way, running for the candidacy when we really know the truth, but, he's the only person running for the candidacy that talks about January 6th. He talks about the families. He cares about the families. He supports Patriot Freedom Project. We support, these families, and that makes him very, very happy. We also help the lawyers. We're helping fund a lot of the appeals, petitions to the Supreme Court. That's where we have to turn our attention. Weaponization of government on the highest level. See what's going on in Michigan now, David, and we think we're going to see a lot more of what's going on in Michigan around the country. But I'll tell you, President Trump is here for the January 6 families, for the defendants, the only person running for the presidency that has committed to looking at every case and offering pardons.
Cynthia, I got about a minute left. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now at Bedminster today. I understand there's more January 6th activity there at Bedminster, and Louis Gohmert is involved, Congressman Louis Gohmert. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So just to be clear, I'm not with President Trump. I'm not at the golf club today,
right.
But I am still in Bedminster. I am with one of the greatest Congress members we've ever seen, former Congressman Louis Gohmert, and a few others from J6 families. And we're doing some filming for part 2 of our docuseries. And I think part 2 is going to really show you some real eye-opening information about January 6th.
Let me ask you one last thing before we wrap up. Give people an idea of what they can do to help, where they need to go, what the money will be used for, and the battle ahead in about 30 seconds or so.
Donate. We have back to school coming up. We have Christmas coming up. We have Thanksgiving. We have Halloween costumes. There's so many children that we're helping. Donate. Please go to patriotfreedomproject.com, or you can go to dueprocessdenied.org, where you could see part 1 of our docuseries, and you can also see where you can purchase our book, Due Process Denied.
Cynthia Hughes, thanks for being a patriot in this country. Thanks for leading the charge on January 6th. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
We're back on American Sunrise in a moment. We're going to spill some tea. We'll see you in a moment.
Welcome back, everybody. Miranda and I here in West Palm Beach. It's time to spill some tea.
Let's do it. Yeah. Sorry, we're still busy smelling the tea. It smells so good.
This one's super minty, rack out remedy.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different ones. Major difference. If you are a tea drinker, you'll notice a difference. So, of course, this is sponsored by Artillery Tea Company. The website, artilleryteaco.com, and you can use the promo code RAV and save yourself 10%. Not only that, like you can use one tea bag,
right,
and you can get, well, two.
I'm going to test that theory today.
Cups of coffee.
I'm going to test that theory between shows today.
Yeah, for sure.
Our little break there. All right, Artillery Tea is all natural. It's whole leaf. Tea bags chemical free. As Miranda said, each tea bag can be used twice. Artillery Tea Company, family, veteran owned and operated.
Right.
Gotta love that.
And again, a portion of your purchase goes to help veterans and first responder charities. So,
yes.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Right. So go right now, artillerytco.com. Use your promo code RAB for 10% off. All right, we need some help from Brody.
We do.
And Terrance.
Yeah.
For this Spill the Tea story. Ready?
You guys ready for this?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it. All right, it was only a matter of time. So Democrat voters are fed up. Finally, and some of them are being very vocal about it when it comes to illegal immigration.
It only took how many millions of illegal invaders to wake them up?
What is that, like 7, 8 million? I've lost count.
Yeah.
A new Siena College poll shows that support for leading New York Democrats is plummeting across the entire political spectrum as the city struggles to accommodate an influx of illegal immigrants.
Yes, actually, nearly half of Democrat voters said that illegals in New York City have become a burden and are not a benefit to the state. Also, 60% of New Yorkers think the state has done enough already to assist and should stop the invasion. Terrance, open borders sound good to Democrats until they have illegals in their own backyard.
Exactly.
Isn't this what we've always said? If you like it so much, invite them into your house, but don't invite them into all of ours, right?
Yeah, and the moment you invite them into your house and you have to give up your bed in order to house them, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And this is one of those situations in which people along those traditional border states, the Texases, the Arizonas, have been having this problem for years, and now finally places like New York, some of those other cities that have taken in some of these people are feeling the pinch, and they don't like it so much, and they're now sending some of these immigrants to suburban cities and other places trying to push the problem out of their own neighborhood. And that's why a lot of these people are saying, hey, it's about time that you're feeling the pinch as well. Now you see what we've been dealing with forever.
Yeah, and then you've got the liberal New York politicians pulling a Martha's Vineyard. I feel like Martha's Vineyard should be like a verb. When those rich people in Martha's Vineyard said, "Oh, thanks for coming. Bye, illegal immigrants. We're going to put you back on the bus."
Exactly.
It's kind of the same thing. Which, by the way, that poll, that Siena poll you're talking about, is interesting. It wasn't just New York politicians. That was the headline, of course. That was the bulk of it. But if you read down even further, Joe Biden is being affected by this as well. I mean, Joe Biden has a 50% unfavorable rating in New York, in liberal New York. That's the first time he's ever had an unfavorable rating. And not only that, ladies and Terrance, but in addition, if you look at Joe Biden's, he's winning, if you will, in New York in terms of he's up by 13 points. He used to be up by 22 points in New York. It's now 13 points. It is going down rapidly. And in the midterms, we saw in the suburbs of New York City how many of those Democrat districts turned blue. So there is a blue wave, a red wave definitely materializing in New York.
David, if I could just add.
And what's going to happen when it really turns fall, when it starts to get cold, when those people can't just lay there on the streets and in the parks and all over the place? That's when it's going to get really interesting, because then we're going to see a lot more news stories about this.
And David, I was just going to add to your point really quickly that people vote based on quality of life issues. And when your quality of life is stepping over homeless immigrants on your way into work, that's a quality of life issue that people will say, you know what, whoever's running this, that's not somebody I want to represent me.
That's a great point.
And this would be why Biden is the, least popular president ever in American history.
And for the longest time. He's maintained these low numbers. All right, Sunny Side Up. Coming up next, you're going to want to stick around because more American Sunrise is coming at ya.
Brody, look at that. I actually saw a concert there. I saw Bob Dylan perform. Right there.
I love the Kansas City Plaza at Christmas. That's what my family and I always did.
Oh, it's
so
wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, welcome back. Dr. Gina and I are here once again in West Palm Beach, and David Brody joining us in D.C., as well as Terrance Bates in Denver. Looking handsome, guys. So the show just flies by.
They're so handsome. How lucky are we to get to sit on this couch every single day and be flanked by these two?
I love it. I love it. And the fact that they coordinated.
Yeah, we're GQ
all right,
Men
guys.
of the
They're
Year.
like, yeah, we're
That's
not
us.
buying it. We're not buying it.
We're all into the sunny side, and it is the sunny side up time.
All right, bump, bump, bump. All right, 14-year-old Adeline Santos from Pennsylvania has taken her rendition of the national anthem from her hometown to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. She says she sings to spread joy to people, and she doesn't get nervous because she, quote, prays before she sings and then sings with all her might. I love that.
I do. I love that. Adeline, you look like you're going to cry over that. Adeline says that she's not stopping at the national anthem. She's already writing and recording her own songs, which you can find on Spotify and Apple Music. So bravo. Let's all take a listen, shall we? That was amazing. Absolutely. Talk about hitting those high notes. Yes. Thank you. Wow, that was incredible. All right, be sure and check out Dr. G and I coming up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we have some great guests coming up on American Sunrise this week. Also, Vernon Jones, Congressman Mark Alford, Caroline Leavitt, and so many more.
All right, guys, we'll see you back here tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern. Again, join us at 4 o'clock. And War Room with Steve Bannon is coming up next. Have a great morning.
See ya.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people.